Welcome to the Broke Book Girls podcast. We're Anne and Bree, and this podcast is going to be your go-to destination for indie reads. We highlight incredible indie authors, explore new worlds, and introduce you to books that you won't find anywhere else. Tune in for your next read, a laugh, and a share in the joy of finding your home. Hello and welcome to the Broke Book Girls podcast, your go-to destination for indie reads, the podcast that is good for the soul but bad for your TBR. Today we're talking to a very special someone, but before we introduce them, let's talk about our current reads. What are you currently reading, Bree?
I am currently reading A Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf. I
Hell yeah!
Jumped straight into that one after I finished my previous read, which I can't even remember what I was reading, but I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to jump into Daggermouth. So I am about almost halfway through it. Loving it. I have made so many highlights. I'm sitting there going, I'm reading at work going, I just want to keep reading, but my break's over and there's people that need attention and the phone's ringing. But I'm having the best time and I can't wait to be traumatized further.
Yeah, you're definitely going to be traumatized by the end of this book.
Oh joy. I know this. I know this 100%, but still I'm not ready. What are you reading?
I'm currently reading Baker's Coven by Aaron Dick. This is an author that we've had on the podcast before, and this is his cozy fantasy debut, which is really exciting. He does normally like horror, sci-fi sort of things, whereas this is very cozy fantasy where we're following our main character who kind of has to run away because of an asshole of a man in her previous town, and she is now trying to find her place in this small community. Ashley, what are you currently reading?
I am reading Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I wanted to read it before the movie came out but I'm still envisioning just like Ryan Gosling the whole time, I guess, the main character. So it didn't entirely work, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm only like a few chapters in, but so far it's really good.
I really do love Andy Weir. Like, I loved The Martian. I read the book before I watched the movie, and it was just... It's one of my favorites as a for your sci-fi kind of dystopia.
Yeah. It's like, it almost has a little bit of like a dry comedy twist to it, which is kind of interesting and in some ways I think refreshing for like a sci-fi take. So it's been a fun read.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. Yeah, it also kind of feels cozy in its like reading. Like, yes, like he's dealing with like almost the end of the world, but it also feels really cozy. And just, I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so today we are joined by an author who has written a hauntingly beautiful story that reflects on political climates throughout history and scarily reflects the political climate of today. This book was written beautifully and was so lush and descriptive throughout, and one we are very excited to discuss today. Ashley, please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Ashley Peters, and my book is In Stasis. It is a dystopian or throughtopian survivalist speculative fiction novel. In it, our main character, Jessie, her and her dog, Janice, are forced to choose to flee to the forest to live out in kind of like a glamping cabin that she had as a vacation rental, but now it's going to turn survival outpost. And she's doing this after facing a betrayal while living under a new authoritarian regime. And while she's out there, she has to figure out how to survive, like in the wilderness, but also learning to trust people and how to navigate while, politically her world is burning around her.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you. That was a great introduction and a good description of the book because, it's definitely one that is highly recommended by both Bree and I. It is very apt for what's happening at the moment. Yeah. But before we get into our deep dive of questions and digging into your brain, we're going to do our usual rapid fire questions. So that means you've got 60 seconds. Bree is going to shoot some questions at you. We want the first thing that pops into your mind. There's normally like one or two that catch people off guard. We've done this with every author that we've interviewed so far, and the time to beat is 45 seconds.
Okay.
All righty. Let me get my clock going. And we will get straight into it. Are we ready?
Ready.
Yes.
3, 2, 1, go.
Favorite season?
Summer.
Kindle or physical?
Physical.
Villain or hero?
What's that?
Villain or hero?
Oh, hero.
Favorite book?
Tender as the Flesh.
Cocktail or mocktail?
Mocktail.
Spice or no spice in books?
No spice?
Sweet or sour?
Sour.
Romance or thriller?
Thriller.
Comedy or horror?
Horror?
Morning or night?
Morning.
Lots of garlic or not lots of garlic?
Knots.
Chips or wedges?
Chips.
10
Movies
seconds.
or TV shows?
Movie.
Call or text?
Text.
Favorite
Time.
flower? Oh. Oh, yes. I don't. You need to change that alarm sound for next time. It reminds me of my alarm in the morning. Now, I have a question. You say not. Do you just like when you say not lots of garlic? Just you don't
Do you
like
still
garlic?
like garlic?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
It's right. Everyone, thanks for coming to the podcast. We're ending it now. We have some discussions to have about garlic. We have only. I think you're probably only the second person who has said not lots of garlic.
Everyone's like, all the garlic, always. So it's quite funny.
I like some. I think I just use so many other things where it's like it's just not just that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
That's fair. Anyway, what was
Alrighty.
I want to know the answer to the last question, which was favorite flower.
That's a good one.
I'm gonna say lavender. Does that count?
Nice.
Kind of. It smells good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
it's pretty.
say it's a flower.
Yeah. It lasts longer than other flowers, so I'm like, yeah, that one.
Yeah, exactly, and
Perfect.
it's good for you.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so that is our rapid fire questions. Now we're going to get into our main interview questions. So Bree, would you like to start us off?
I sure can. So, In Stasis is a lyrical piece. What was your inspiration behind taking that route with your writing?
It was twofold. Partially, I'm drawn to writing that is like that. And when I was naturally writing it, like that is kind of how it came out. I make the joke that while this is a dystopian piece, it's also like a love letter to nature. So I kind of wanted it to have this very soft, fluid writing style, but in high contrast to the fact that it's kind of gritty and there are very bad things that are happening. And it's just this like complete juxtaposition between the writing style and what is going on. And I think that it draws people in to where they, without getting too many descriptions to where it just feels like rambly, but people feel like they're there. Like it feels very sensory.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. Like you're reading this beautiful description of her walking through the forest, and then it's like you almost forget that she's in the forest trying to find plants to survive because of everything that's going on. So it's like it definitely kind of sweeps you away with the beautiful lyrical writing, but then you're also like, oh yeah, that's right. Like this is a dystopian book.
Things ain't right.
Yeah.
Well, because like so often in real life we disassociate things, and so I almost felt like it was another layer to disassociate from what it would be like living in that by having it just being very soft and fluid in that contrast.
Yeah. It worked really well in this story. I really enjoyed it.
It did. It was perfect.
Yeah. So In Stasis is a reflection on what has already happened in our history, but also is scarily reflecting what is happening in the world right now. How did you cope with the research for this book and seeing how history is repeating itself right now in the world?
It was like, I feel like the research and then honestly going back and editing was like the most stressful parts, because then you're like absorbing it also as a reader. During the writing process, it almost felt cathartic, because I can't control so many things that are going on in the world, but I can control what is going on to this page. And I know there's a storyline, there's an ending. I don't know how the real world is going to wrap things up, and hopefully it has a good result. Um, so the writing was weirdly cathartic. It was sometimes stressful, especially going through and just really deep diving into some of the research and seeing just how far back there are repetitive mistakes and these biases and judgments that land humanity in very similar positions like over and over again. And I don't necessarily have a silver lining for that, but to say like, well, maybe this time like will be better. Um, yeah, like that part was, it was like heavy, and so I would write and then take time away from that, like a certain amount of time before bed, because otherwise my brain would just keep coming up with stuff while sleeping.
Yeah, it's almost like a horror movie, kind of just watching everything happening and knowing the outcome of history, and like just really hoping that it doesn't happen again this time, I guess.
So it's like we discussed last time, is people are creatures of habit, which really sucks.
Yeah.
And they fall back on what they know.
It definitely does. And it was a thing where like when I was writing it, there were like real world things going on that to me felt more ridiculous than what was going on in the book, which was part of the reason why when I was looking into publishing routes, I decided to self-publish, because knowing that traditional publishing is going to take at a like a rapid speed 2 to 3 years, at a normal speed like 4 to 5, and I'm like, I don't want it to be a thing where this comes out and then people are like, that's, you know, so tame compared to what happened. And hopefully nothing happens. But I was like, okay, I want this to get out there where this still feels fiction.
Yeah. And almost like a little like warning, like if we're not paying attention, this is how things can go if we don't stand up and kind of fight back.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I swear to all the readers, there is a thread woven through of optimism.
No, there definitely is. It's not all doom and gloom.
You will enjoy this, and you will have a good time. No,
there's a cute dog.
It's a very
Everyone
cute
loves
dog.
the dog. Like it cracks me up because I definitely I have 3 dogs. I know that they influence how I interact with them, was like put into the book, but it does make me laugh because everyone's just like, I love the dog so much, and to the point where I've gone back and like reread it. I'm like, what? Did I add extra special stuff that I don't remember? I'm like, is that companionship?
Lovable animal companion going on adventures. I mean, that's a go-to win for anyone whenever.
Yeah.
So everyone's always going to love the dog. As long as nothing happens to the dog, everything's fine.
And nothing bad happens to the dog.
No.
Guaranteed. We've read the book.
Yeah.
This is not a
yeah. When people ask me about spoilers, I'm like, that is the one spoiler I'll give, is like there's nothing bad happens to the dog.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What was your process for balancing the poetic lyrical language with the narrative and the functional needs of the story? You balanced it really well, and I know personally I would have struggled. So how did you go?
I definitely naturally, I think, write more lyrically, and so it was a thing where there would be times when I would go back through and either through the actual editing process or just kind of reviewing like what it was I wrote, to where I would read it out loud, and if it felt like we were just going on too much of a windy tangent, I'm like, okay, we need to cut this out. Everything that was in there I wanted it to move something forward, whether it was creating the atmosphere or literally moving the plot along. It was very intentional. And so sometimes there were parts where I took like I guess a Vonnegut approach, because I'd heard that he would go through and eliminate every word that was unnecessary. And so I would just start cutting words while still trying to maintain the emotion and the flow and the actual action things of it. I think weirdly that kept me in check, because his writing, I don't feel like is lyrical. I do feel like it's very windy. And so I felt like that helped me to balance it, so it didn't become a tangent, but still got the movement and everything across. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. It's amazing how different everyone's processes are.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a lot of looking up for, like, I don't know, trying to find words that properly conveyed something. The words, like, you have 5 words, and I'm like, there has to be a word to properly, like, to better convey this. So there was a lot of that where I'm like, okay, let's figure out the best way, or playing with, I don't know, I feel like words, when you say, like, 2 words could have the same meaning, but a certain word is going to have more of a gut reaction. And sometimes that would win out over the other one, and then I could eliminate other parts of the sentence. So it was a lot of just, I don't know, probably nitpicking. That's probably what it was.
It's so interesting. Just a random question that I don't have written down, but just thought of. Like, what sort of authors would you say your writing is most like?
I have a hard time, like, I guess, thinking about which authors. I think, so, like, an author who I, like, so deeply admire, and I feel like I can't ever compare myself to her, is Margaret Atwood. Because I feel like she does a very good job of putting us into a place and time and emotion. And I think it balances that between being very descriptive, but also moving things along really well. Emily St. John, who wrote, what was it? Oh my gosh, I read it last year. Oh, Station 11. That's what it was. I think that was one. When I was reading hers, I was just immediately like, oh, I feel like this resonates a lot. I'm drawn to Octavia Butler. Again, she's one of those where I'm like, I don't want to compare myself to her because she's so amazing. But the same thing where it just draws you in that way. And there's others I was using as, like, comps of, I said Parable of the Talents, Wild by Cheryl Strayed, and then Leave the World Behind. And I thought it was interesting because Leave the World Behind, I feel like a lot of the vibes are similar, but a very different writing, I feel like, style.
Yeah.
Like, that one I just feel like is very, like, it's not lyrical. Like, it's very clean writing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, like all of those stories, I guess, kind of feel very insular in the characters that they're following. And although we're living in this sort of, or we're reading about this dystopian world, we're not really worried about the world around us. It's more of how the character is dealing with this world, and we're not kind of watching the world go to hell. It's more of how this character is dealing with it, how this character is kind of processing everything that's happening. So I definitely think those are really good comps, and for people who enjoy those books, I think they'll definitely enjoy this one. So
yeah, it's definitely very
just a random bonus question.
We love a random bonus question. We love a random bonus question, bonus tangent, everything. So no, you're not bonus question, your normal question.
Yeah. So my normal question: In Stasis has a lot of undertones of rebellion and fighting back against tyranny. Why do you think it's important for people to stand up and fight to be heard about what they believe in, even if themselves aren't being harmed by what's happening in the world?
I think it's so easy when people, I guess, it's so easy when people are comfortable to not want to rock their own boat. And then that's how bad things happen. Like, that's how bad people get away with doing bad things, because you're, whoever, are comfortable, and you're like, like, surely somebody else will intervene. Somebody else will take care of it. But if everybody has that mindset, nothing gets fixed. I also think there are a lot of people who maybe internally, like in their own homes, are having conversations, but they don't feel powerful enough to speak out. So if one person speaks out, then they can feel confident to where maybe they will speak out. And it could be something as simple like, in the like States, like just sending an email to a politician. Like, you don't have to get on the phone. You don't have to show up at a protest or something, but just something like the little things, even just, I don't know, like getting groceries for people who maybe feel like they can't go to the grocery store because of like the immigration, like officers or whatever situation kind of a thing. Like, there's little things that people can do. I've always been somebody who I'm just like, I don't care. I'm going to say what I say, and if I'm going to call things out, but I know that not everyone is like that. And it was, we took a trip in the Netherlands, and in Amsterdam, there's a museum called the Resistance Museum. And it talked about all these little acts that people did of resistance during Nazi occupation. And I found it super inspiring. And I feel like so many people don't go to this museum. And I get it. There's amazing things to do all over, Amsterdam. But I'm telling so many people, I'm like, everyone needs to go there, because there will be at least one story they think somebody could see themselves in. So I hope that, like, and I just hope more people speak out, even if it's just sharing something that you're like, hey, I'm not okay with this. Like, as much as a double-edged sword as social media is, even just sharing, being like, I'm not okay with this. Now let me send an email or something. Like, that's something. It's better than nothing.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, it's tough, because we just did an episode on the podcast where talking about how reading is political, and the like divide on Bookstagram at the moment, where people are like, I don't want to talk about anything politics, I want to escape. And then there's the other side where people are like, no, this is literally why we read. This is the books that we read. Like, this is happening right now. So yeah, that's, and then following on from that episode, we're going to have this episode going up. So we're really hitting it home, I think, with our audience, that
we're going to get you in one spot, it's just us, and then we're going to chuck you another one.
Yeah. It is. I did talk to somebody who, they had me on their platform, and they started with saying like, oh, we normally don't do political things. I'm thinking like, how did I get here? Like, how did this book get here? Because it's very clear, like it clearly says like authoritarian regime, like regardless of where you are in the political spectrum, like right there, you're like, we know we're talking about something sociopolitical, historical, of that nature. So I was like, okay, well, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. My body's rejecting the awake. Which part of In Stasis was the hardest for you to polish?
I think sometimes like because so much research went into like all of it, there were certain parts that there was more research done. There was one chapter in particular where they're talking about myths and these ancient stories, where essentially there's a very much so a through line of like misogyny and oppression and stuff that keeps showing up in these myths, and how we've been told these stories, and maybe that forms some sort of subconscious something. But that chapter, and then there was one where they're talking about all these past regimes, and both of those had so much research to where when I finished them, I had to go back and like heavily edit them, because it came off almost like a university class type of chapter. It felt too, I don't know, cold or academic. It didn't feel as lyrical. I was like, okay, this doesn't fit with the rest. I feel like it was me being really proud or excited about all the research and wanting to make sure it was clear that I did all the research. I was like, no, we need to just cut this away and we can work things in more like a below the surface level versus we don't need all the names of the regimes. We can just allude, and if people want to dive deeper, there's enough context, they can dive deeper. Yeah, that was the hardest part, just because I didn't want to cut out all the research.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing sometimes with authors, like they put so much research into these novels and stuff, but it's always like the author knows way more than the reader ever sees. And it can be hard to kind of juggle that of like, look at all the research I did, but also not info dumping and throwing all of this extra stuff in that kind of pulls people out of the story. So, yeah.
It's a fine balance to walk to make sure you're not overwhelming people.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, as much as I'm like, oh, this is very interesting, I'm like, I will talk anybody's ear off about all the research. I'm like, we don't have to go through a whole like class on totalitarian regimes throughout history. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, and in your author's note, it does mention like all the different historical periods that you kind of researched for this one. But I loved in your author's note. So if you're reading the story of Jesse, Janice, and their survival, if any man of orange or tangerine variety enters your mind, know that the villain you're about to meet, Blake, is conjured from the depths of history and far more suave than any current person you may be thinking about. Though if you recognize repeatable history, what does that say? That made me laugh out loud hard. It was
I remember reading that, and it was just the tangerine. I was like, ha!
Yes.
Yeah, yes. It was perfect.
I'm so glad that you all love it, because it was definitely a thing. It wasn't originally like in the original draft. Like, that was a choice to be made like final weeks before publication. Because there was just so much stuff going on in U.S. politics, and I knew people were going to like make this like a connection. And I'm like, I see what you're saying, but no, this is not just a angst piece or something against specific individuals. I'm like, there's so much more to it. So I didn't want people getting distracted by thinking it was like some connection of an angst piece and just blowing over like all the historical context and how that should be scarier. I wrote the like kind of snarky note to the readers of that. So I love it. I'm gonna laugh when I get an angry email from a tangerine man one day. But yeah.
Hey, look, if that ever happens, I have a sword.
I'll frame it. Like, absolutely.
That means you're winning if you're pissing off people about a certain thing.
Yeah. So I would absolutely be laughing out loud.
Yeah. So In Stasis explores community and how coming together can have a positive impact on your life. Why did you delve into community in this book, and why is it important for us to stick together right now?
I think so, partially because like my natural reaction a lot of times is like, I'll take care of it. I got it. I am definitely like a very independent person, and that's just kind of the natural way I go. And I have to remind myself sometimes, like, asking for help is not only okay, but it does make things better or easier. And I do think, as doom and gloom as the news and the world and events can be, when you start talking to other people, especially other people who are trying to make even just daily lives a little bit better, it makes it to where you don't feel so alone, and it feels less overwhelming and more manageable. So while Jessie flees to the forest and she truly is just alone, besides like talking to her dog, it is a thing where it's like, how long can you really do that? Like, how long can you operate alone and something not really be hindered because of it? Like, it would, yes, you can lift the, I don't know, I'm horrible. I can't convert between pounds and metrics, so I'm sorry. But I'm like, you can lift like the 50-pound bag of rice by yourself, but it would be a lot easier if you had a buddy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. It's yeah, and you can see it with Jessie in this story. Like, she starts mentioning how, like, she just wants to sit down and have a conversation with someone, and having her dog, who doesn't reply back, will just give her face licks, and she's like, yeah, cool, I love you, but I want to have a conversation right now.
Yeah.
And watching that kind of her going out to the outpost and doing her trading, and how she's really scared of all of these people, but slowly she kind of starts to create these like little friendships and relationships with these people, and start to trust them in a way, which is really good. And I really enjoyed that part as well. Yeah.
Just really shows the importance of community.
Yeah, I feel like community makes things not like only easier, but just, I don't know, like, I want to say more enjoyable. Like, yes, there are horrible things going on, but with community, like, together, you can still enjoy today.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, that's why we, like, even like now, like, this is why we do Sparks of Joy at the end of the episodes, is that it's reminding ourselves that things might be shit. We might not be feeling that great. Life is a roller coaster with its ups and downs. But if we can identify something, at least in our week, that has made us go, okay, life isn't too bad. It's a beacon when you're going, ugh, life sucks. But yeah,
It's like
you got to find the joy.
Why we're all on Bookstagram. We love talking about books, but it's more of the community aspect than anything, and making these friends who have the same hobbies. And just being on your own and being lonely is just not great, and it can be really bad for you. So having the people around you that like the same things as you, agree or disagree on certain aspects of life, that's fine. But just having this community is just so important right now.
It is. And that's why, like, someone, I think it was on Threads, because I was saying, like, oh, did I accidentally write, like, a cozy dystopian? Because that's what a lot of reviewers had said. And I'm like, oh, I see what you're saying. But this person said, oh, like a throughtopian. And I'm like, what? Like, what is that? And essentially, it's just a dystopian, but it's supposed to be temporary, and it's more about, like, making connections and community and resistance and resilience. And I'm like, oh, like, well, I guess a lot of the dystopians that I love are throughtopians. And so I've been integrating that word, because I think sometimes people think of dystopian as being just doom and gloom. And I'm like, no, there's definitely aspects of, like, the community and the resistance. And in some ways, I hope people get to the end and they have a sense of hope. Because not only has this not yet happened, but also, like, it leaves it to where it's not just doom and gloom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kind of coming off of this, given the current political, community, life, world climate, how has writing In Stasis helped you to kind of process what's going on?
I think, like, so writing it was weirdly cathartic, because the fact that I felt like I had some control over this. Like, I knew the ending, I knew where things were going. In, like, in some weird ways that felt like actually really, really good. I think also because when I was writing this, like, and then since it, like, was coming out, other things in the US have been happening, both, like, bad and good. Seeing people band together, and basically all of Minneapolis, Minnesota being like, no, we're not okay with this. Seeing everyone come together is inspiring, and I think makes me, like, I see that, and then it almost, I don't know, in my head, I'm like, oh, it ties in with the book, because, like, that's what ultimately, like, they need in this fictional world, and in the real world, this is going on. Or the fact that Bad Bunny's Super Bowl, like, everyone was in, I guess not everyone, but all the good people were losing their mind over how amazing it was, regardless of whether or not they spoke Spanish, and just coming together over something like that. Or I think it was Alyssa Liu who just did her Olympic performance, just in complete authenticity. So for me, like dealing with all of the real world things, like the writing process was cathartic. And then the high points we've had in the past 2 months, I feel like reinforce that thread of like resilience and hope. So it's been like an interesting like roller coaster ride of it.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's the thing we need to remember too. We can talk about how hard things are over in the States and how everyone's really struggling, but also at the same time, there's also these highlights and there's beautiful, kind, loving people over there as well. It's not everyone is the administration, you know? Like, yes, there is part who voted him in, and but now we're seeing there's this kind of change of what's happening. Like states are starting to change their mind and realize like, oh shit, we fucked up, we need to try and fight this. And that's the thing, we need to like be aware of there is still good in the world, there is still good to be had. And yeah, like the news is going to be showing all of this crazy stuff and social media like always, and you just need to kind of take a step back and realize that there is good happening out there as well. And yeah, that's, I know social media shows us all the bad things, but there is a lot of good out there. So we do need to be aware of that as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where's my next question?
List.
Jessie is a really strong, resilient main character throughout this story. She survives by herself out in the forest with her gorgeous dog for most of this book. Do you relate to Jessie in any way, or was Jessie written with someone in your life, kind of, that you know?
So I relate to Jessie, but I say that Jessie is a more exaggerated version of me, or someone who I would hope to be in these situations. I had said that before she runs to the forest, that she's kind of just like an average woman. She has a good job. She's active with her friends and her community, but she isn't like a wilderness survival person. She is definitely a journalist who will stick her nose into things, but she's also not the one who is like leading the charge and forming a protest or something else like that. I wanted to make sure that she was relatable to a lot of people, but also for me personally, like if I went out to the wilderness to survive, like yes, I go camping, I go hiking, I know some things, which through this process and talking to other people, I do think I maybe know more than some people. But there are other things in there, like she makes jokes about remembering something from a reality TV show and or something from, oh, this random book. I hope this is actually true. And I've always been a person just consuming like any form of media for learning. And so there are lots of random things that like I will retain. And I feel like if I was in that situation, I would be like, okay, like let's hope something comes out of some corner of my brain to be useful in this moment because I need something. But yeah, I feel like she's just like an exaggerated version of me, but still hopefully relatable to everyone else because I do think, even though everyone who I've said this to is like, nope, I couldn't. I'm like, I think everyone's capable of far more than they give themselves credit for. Like, I think if you were dumped in the woods, you would do far better than what you expect, especially when, as far as you know, there's no exit or rescue strategy. Because what's the other option, really?
Yeah, like you just have to dig deep and do what you got to do to make it work. You know, there is those people who will probably just curl up and be like, no, I'm not dealing with this, I can't do this. But then there's other people who are a lot stronger than they believe, and they'll just come out and next minute they'll be like the next survivalist, and they'll figure it out. Like Jessie, like you watch her, she's just going through and like walking around and like, okay, what plants seem familiar to me, like what's, you know, what can I do here? And like the way she packed was really strategic as well, but also at the same time it wasn't, because she was just grabbing things to go. And then like as we're reading, there's like a list of all the things that I could get rid of that I brought that I thought would be useful, but they're actually not. And her just learning as she goes was really, really interesting. And it wasn't like she immediately went out to this forest and knew exactly what to do. She just knew that she had to get out and she was going to survive no matter what, which I think is really relatable for people.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very human and learning through trial and error, and just shows that when your life is on the line, you got to survive. You're going to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
100%.
I personally find it like shows or books where the person is thrown into a situation, whether it's like a wilderness survival or a zombie apocalypse, and suddenly they're just like a rock star at everything. It drives me nuts because I'm like, no, you would not. You would not just like adapt that quickly.
No.
There's a Korean like zombie horror movie. Um, it's called Alive, like hashtag Alive. And I think it's such a good movie because this guy is just fumbling through for the first like 2 weeks. And he's like, I'm going to ration out my food. And then he eats the entire thing of noodles because, you know, he like, and I'm like, this is realistic. Like, this is how people are. So I wanted her to not be perfect.
It kind of like reminds me of the show Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
Where all of these people are like, I'm a survival expert. Like, I do this and I go out and I do this and da 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 da. And then they go on the show and then they just fumble constantly. They can't catch food. They can't light a fire. And they're like, what is going on? Like, I can't, like in real life or death situations, they just can't do it no matter how much training they've had. So yeah, like even these people who've been well trained and have spent years and call themselves experts, they still struggle. So seeing this everyday person kind of go out into the forest and just survive randomly just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I really like that. We watch her learn and, oh, this doesn't work. I'm going to change this. Or, oh shit, my tomatoes are rotting.
Yeah.
You know, like, what do I do here? Or whatever. Yeah. It's really, really good.
Yeah, no, very, very well done.
Thank you.
What was your favorite part to write?
I think so. I really like writing, I say like the whimsical, like love letter to nature parts, where she's just kind of caught up in her own thoughts, just admiring it. Because I think for me, nature has always been this solitude or this like re-energizing space, where I don't know, you go on a hike and you come back and I'm like, okay, everything seems less stressful. Like I could just hang out and look at the trees. So for me, I'm like, those parts came very easily and I just enjoyed writing them. And then the dialogue. I didn't expect the dialogue to be as fun as what it was to write, but I felt like it was really enjoyable to write. I was most definitely like writing portions and then reading out loud in different voices to make sure, like, does this sound like how humans talk or does this sound weird? Or like listening at restaurants and coffee shops, just like hearing the cadence of how people speak and what they put in and what they leave out because I didn't want it to be overwritten. So to whoever I was eavesdropping on, thanks to make sure that it was I promise none of your actual words are in there, but it was just like listening to, specifically because there are like men who she's talking to. And obviously I know how my partner and I, like how him and I will talk with each other. But I was like very like mindful to make sure like it sounded like it came from this character. Like the voice would match the physique.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that you can have this relationship with someone and they talk a certain way and that's just how they talk with you. But then like you hear them talking to someone else in a different context and something changes and you're just like, where did that come from? Like with my partner, there's one way he talks with me and then with his friends, he just kind of talks, you know, like a proper Maori boy. Like
he does it into bro mode.
Yeah, he goes into bro mode and things like that, and it's just so interesting. And you're kind of looking at him like, "Who are you?" But yeah, no, that's really interesting to see and hear your like process of like eavesdropping. That's really interesting. And I've always heard authors talk about reading your stuff out loud to hear the cadence of how things go. So I'm glad that really worked out for you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
sweet.
It was funny. I should have recorded myself because it would have made a good like video for Instagram or something. But next book.
Next time.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who is writing in the dystopian genre?
I think for me at least, I feel like dystopian genres, it's so character based and really just harnessing like why is this dystopian? Because so often you could take something that could be like a good idea and then with one little tweak suddenly it is dystopian and then going to that core of why, because if it's just actions then I feel like other people can make the argument as to like no this is why it's good, but your readers need to fully see from that person's point of view of like why this is definitely not good and like why maybe if they're afraid, like why are they so afraid, why are we fighting this so much, like that. I don't know, I think the emotions need to pull it along for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like with Suzanne Collins, she only writes a new novel every time she believes that there's something that needs to be spoken about. And we see that with a lot of these dystopian novels. They're always hitting something that's really important and really relevant. Like during the COVID period, we saw all of these books coming out about like this, the world is ending because of this disease or whatever. And it kind of, I think dystopian is really, it's dystopian, but it's also really realistic. And it kind of, everyone can see how we could get from point A to point B. And we're like, oh, this is actually really scary right now.
I always refer to the genre as like a funhouse mirror because it is truly like it's reflective. It's you're supposed to kind of look inwards, but something is askew. I don't know, like the show like Black Mirror, like they're all making a point. It's not just like a shock factor or something. Yeah. So I think being able to convey that would be like my biggest piece of advice. Otherwise, I feel like it feels shock factory or like you just went and pulled like the most extreme things. And like that is, I'm sure, a subgenre and there's a reader base for that. But I feel like for it to really drive it home, you need that emotion as to like, well, why is this so bad?
Why is this actually scary? Yeah. It's the same with the direction that kind of horror has gone over the last few years. There's a lot of social commentary in that. And you can kind of see the slow progression of like this author is talking about something that we believe is not even likely, like Tender as the Flesh you've mentioned. There's like cannibalism within that, and that's kind of how people live. They eat humans because all the animals are gone, and you could be like, oh, that's never going to happen, but as you read the book you're like, wait. We're like, I can see how this could go. If certain people make these certain decisions, we could definitely go in that direction. And just the authors don't write books just to write books. They write them to make a statement. And as we said in our last episode, this is why reading is political.
Yeah. And I'm sure, I mean, I would be amazed if someone could point out a book that isn't driving some message or isn't political in some. And even like, I have a friend who will refer to like the easy reads as like smooth brain reads. And I'm like, even those reads where it's just like, it is a chill, enjoyable read. I'm like, there's something in there though that is still, I don't know, pulling in other things. Like, I don't want to say nothing can exist in a bubble, but I don't have any references of what could.
Yeah. It's like with contemporary romance, if we are following like Black characters in those romances, we see the prejudice that are against them and the racism, and there's always mentions of other things. Or like contemporary romances where they have this trauma that they're dealing with and kind of trying to overcome, or mental health issues, or being queer and dealing with that. There's so many things within the stories. Like, you can ignore all of that and just read for a fun time. But if you actually think about the books that you're reading, there's always something that you can pull out and be like, interesting.
Yeah.
Amazing. So that is all of our questions. Bree, do you have anything else to add before we jump into our spark of joy?
No.
I don't think so. I think, yeah, we were saying how it's lyrical prose. I always say my stories, it's like a gritty story with lyrical prose equals a story worth rooting for. So I think that, like, if you like that type of vibe, you'll love it. There's a dog.
There's a dog.
Amazing.
And he doesn't
yes,
die.
a
The
cute dog.
It's very like pro girl power. There's lots of little Easter eggs, I will say too. Like, if you're a person who likes kind of connecting all the random Easter eggs to try to predict things in the book, there are little Easter eggs with like if you start looking at like the names, there's correlations between certain types of names versus other types of names, figuring out kind of which side of political things they're relying on. There's no romance because I didn't want it to be a thing where, or like a guy sidekick besides the dog, because I didn't want it to be a thing where the guy like stole any credit from her survival ability. I keep joking one day a wilderness bro is going to show up in my DMs and be like, this isn't accurate, or there's no way she could. I didn't want to give them any ammo by having a guy there to help her in any way, besides the dog. But yeah.
Love it. So, like every single episode, we will talk about our spark of joy and plug of the week. So, Bree, what's your spark of joy for this week?
So I do have two. My first one was I put in my project proposal work, and it got accepted. So
Yay!
I get to run a mental health follow-up clinic at work, which is very exciting. I'm feeling very overwhelmed all of a sudden because all the doctors have come back going, I have the perfect patients for you. And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't even started yet. Please don't stress me out like this. But I'm very excited. It's my first proper project proposal since high school. Wow, that is not something I could say drunk. So yeah, I'm very chuffed with myself. So that was a big spark. And the other one is I was out in the city yesterday catching up with a friend, and we were heading towards the bar, and I looked across the street. My other friends were there, and I was just like, you guys have to come to the bar with us. So I made all my friends interact together, and it was great. And we got very drunk and had a very, 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 very early morning. And what is your spark of joy for the week? Oh, girl, you muted. You're muted. We can't hear you. Can't hear you. Hello? Nope. You are gone. Did your microphone die? Unfortunately, I don't know how to read lips. Ashley, are you any good at reading lips?
No.
God damn it. Nothing. Technical difficulties. Like there's always something.
Yeah. The first time I used this recording studio, it didn't want to work with any of my browsers, so I had to download a different browser to be able to get it up. And it was like 3 minutes before the podcast. So now I just have it up literally just for when we record on this platform, because the other ones are fine. I'm just like, whatever. I don't care. Don't need to know why. Like, just work.
Nope, can't hear you, Anne. Okay, I understood that one. That one was what the fuck.
Upward.
That much I understood. It was just yep, I know those ones. Hello?
I don't know what's happening.
You're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you.
I don't know what happened. I just pressed a button and it seemed to work. Okay. So, my spark of joy, I have two this week. So both are related to friends. So I got a surprise package from my friend Bree as a thank you, with one of the books, with the book in the package. So
And you're gone again. That one will fuck my life. For those who couldn't read Anne's lips there, I can understand. If I'm reading lips, I can understand fuck, and that's it. No.
It came back for a second. It's almost like the metal, like if something's not connecting. I don't know.
Yeah, something might have popped out.
Okay.
We can hear crackling, and we can hear, like, like the staticky, like... Nope. Do you want me to read out what you've got written? No. I'll read. So Anne's spark of joy is she got a surprise package from her friend Bree as a thank you for giving her the chapter by chapter breakdown of a book she couldn't read but really wanted to because of her triggers. That was number one. And then number two was she randomly ran into one of her bookish besties in the supermarket in Kiri yesterday and getting a huge cuddle, which is very sweet. Ashley, what's your spark of joy? Besides Anne's technical difficulties, which is just hilarious.
This past Sunday, my mom and my partner ran the half marathon in our city. It was really fun and had amazing crowd support. And I had been debating about signing up or not for next year, so I went ahead and signed up for the full marathon for next February. So I was excited about that. You do not look like you're excited about that. You're like, no.
Yeah, look. I don't run. If you think the only time people have probably ever seen me run is if the alarm bell goes off work, and then it's a grab the boobs and run. Who's ringing the emergency bell?
Fair. So I'm excited about that, and I keep seeing all the social media stuff of this past one and having major FOMO. So I'm like, okay, remember that when I'm having horrible days running. And then my other one, I was running, and there was a really, really spectacular sunrise because we in Austin, Texas, we get really amazing sunrises and sunsets as long as it's not cloudy, and it's just super bright, and all the colors. So it was just really, really spectacular.
Nice. I love that. We do love a good sunrise. I admit that's one of the things that I miss about the west coast of the South Island here in New Zealand is the sunsets are spectacular. And then our last thing, which is our plug of the week. I will read Anne's out because Anne is just sitting there because of her fucking microphone. So Anne's plug of the week is the Shelf Control app. It's an app that helps you keep track of all of your arcs, their due dates, and tells you how many pages each day you need to read to get the book finished before release day. It's handy. You can import your NetGalley too. If you need more organization, help for arcs, she highly recommends this app. She will send me a photo of the app so I know what it looks like. And my plug of the week is just talking with friends. We're all kind of going through things a little bit at the moment, so I've just plugged talking to your friends, being open, having that open communication. It's really good because then you know how best to help your friends, and you can communication, guys. Brilliant. That's my plug. And Ashley, what is your plug?
I'm gonna say I'm encouraging everyone to try a funky flavor combo for lattes. Miso and caramel work really, really well together. I know. So if you you can make it at home. If you get some miso paste and water, and then a brown sugar, it'll make a miso caramel, and it's really, really good. It's rich and just a good sweet kind of salty balance.
Intriguing.
Yeah. There's a coffee shop here that does it, and it's amazing. And then they will have a line sometimes that's 45 minutes. And so the one day I was I wonder if I could figure this out. And I figured it out good enough do I like it? So I'm like, okay, if I don't want to wait, I have this.
Very nice. Very nice. Funky flavors. Alrighty. Well, thank you, Ashley, for joining us today on the podcast. Apologies for the technical difficulties at the end. Make sure to give Ashley a follow. Where can they find you, Ashley, on social media?
So the Instagram is at Ashley_Peters_author. Website is just AshleyPetersAuthor, all one word.com. And then you'll be able to see all sorts of behind the scene things on Instagram. We have a newsletter on the website that only goes out twice a month because I don't have time to do more than that. And then the book is on the website as well.
Amazing. You can find Anne at Runaway Irish Girl on everywhere you can think. You can find me at Cheese and Reads because I can remember what my username is sometimes. And make sure to follow us on our socials, the Broke Book Girls Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. We appreciate you being here with us wherever you're listening from, whenever you're listening from. Tune in 10 a.m. every Wednesday for a new episode. We love and appreciate you. Have a good one. Bye.